Hi there, and thank you for tuning in. It's early morning here in the woods, and I'm out here with my Nikon D750 to see if I can shoot some multiple exposures. So there isn't much more to multiple exposures in terms of the technique than what the name says. It is just several exposures put on top of each other. And you may be thinking, Frederick, couldn't you just do that in post-processing? And you would be absolutely right. You can do that in post-processing, but when you do it in camera, you get instant feedback. You can see the result while you're out shooting, and that means you get a much more tight or short feedback loop, rather than, first you're out shooting, trying a lot of different things, and then you come home to your computer and sit and do post-processing. But here, you get the result directly, and I like that. I really like that. So in terms of configuration, it's really simple. Nikon has luckily been super consistent throughout the years with the way that they do the configuration and the menu system. I will show you for several cameras, and I think you will find that for your specific camera, it's very much the same. So that's the first step. So let's get cracking with setting up multiple exposures in the menu system.
So here in the D750, you have the menu system. Photo shooting menu is the second from the top. Select that one. And if you go to the bottom of that one, you can just go one up. It goes to the bottom. You can see here you have multiple exposure. So here in the menu system, you can choose how many shots you will have, 2 or 3. I'll select 3 here. Auto gain. I'm not sure I fully understand the text here for the auto gain, but I leave it on, and that helps making better pictures. So I would suggest you do the same. In here, you can select on and off, obviously. You can select on in 2 versions. One is a series, so that it shoots 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It sort of stays in the multiple exposure mode, whereas if you just take on for single photo, it shoots 1, 2, 3, and then it goes out of multiple exposure mode and stays out. So I normally, if I have decided to shoot multiple exposure, I leave it on and to stay in that mode. If you wish, you can set it up so that in my menu, you add it as an item. And what you simply do is you say add items, go into the shooting menu, and then you go down and select the multiple exposure. You can see I have already done that, so I have no need to do that, but you can, it tells me it's already included. There's a little check mark there. But that's the way to do it. That's really all there is to it on the D750. On the Nikon D4, it looks very much the same. You can see here I'm in the shooting menu, and if I go to the bottom of the menu system, you can see there are more options here. So the multiple exposure sits a little bit higher up in the list, but it is very much the same otherwise. And this looks exactly the same. You can see you have the same selection here, and you have auto gain, and you have number of shots. The only change is, and you can see that bottom right, is that now I can go up to 10 exposures on top of each other, where the D750 only would allow me 3. As I hope you can see here, very, very much the same way of setting it up. The newest camera I have is the Z6 Mark II, and as you can see here, very much the same again. I have the same modes in here to choose between. I can overlay just on the D4. I have 10 images I can put on top of each other. I have a new option here, overlay mode, and you can see here, if you know this from Lightroom or other post-processing software, it governs or controls the way the images are added, and you can try and play with these options here, but it is a new thing relative to the D750, for instance, that you can control the way it adds the images here. You can also save the individual images. You can switch that on and off. So if you don't want the camera only to store the merged image, you can have the individual ones. And then finally here, overlay shooting, you get some help in seeing what you are producing while you're producing it. So you can see here that if you have taken, for instance, 5 out of 10 images, you can see what the 5 images look like during the shoot. So here on the Z6 Mark II, the 3 in the bottom here are just more advanced options, whereas number 1 and 2 here are good oldies we know from the DSLRs.
So that was the configuration, and with that done, we're into the fun part, shooting with multiple exposures. So when you shoot, let me just show you this. I take 3 images here where I combine 3 into 1, and you can see it takes a little while for the camera to calculate the final image. So the D750 here shows me the image, the third image that I took, and then a few seconds after, boom, the effect of the multiple exposure is applied. So I think it comes down to the computing power of the camera here. So it may vary a little bit subject to which camera you're using, but it takes a little while for the result to get there. When you see the thing in your camera and you think, that didn't work, it wasn't really a good image, don't delete it just yet. Keep it in your camera, take it home to your computer and see it on a big screen. Sometimes you're surprised. Things that look, like nothing on the rear of the camera here suddenly looks very, very different on a big screen. So don't delete while you're out shooting. Wait till you get back home. I'm being eaten here, so I better get on the move. If you don't like to hit the shutter 3 times, if you ask for 3 exposures on top of each other, you can put it into continuous mode. So I normally choose continuous low on my D750 here. And you can see now when I take the images, I just hold down the shutter and it takes the 3 images. It works if you want to make sure that you have sort of the same distance between the 3 images when you move the camera in a line, then continuous can actually help you with that, because then if you just start moving the camera and then hit the shutter, so you move the camera, hit the shutter, that sort of rhythm, or the fact that you have found a speed to move it at, and then you have continuous shooting to sort of give the timing, means that you will come home with some images where the space is very, very much the same, and sometimes that is just exactly what you need. One of the things that I've found that gives the biggest change in the result that I get is how much I move the camera. So if you try something that maybe where you move the camera a lot between the shots, and you look at the image saying, this doesn't work, it's just try moving the camera a little bit less and see if that gives a better result. It's strange, but such a little change can actually make a huge difference between 2 images. So I guess it's just trying out combinations, being playful, and see what works, what doesn't work. There isn't really all that much more to it. So, best of luck. Yeah, that didn't work at all. As I said, you really get the feedback immediately after you've done the shots when you do the multiple exposure in camera.
So here are just some examples that I've shot, and just for inspiration. You can see here that sometimes the triple exposure actually accentuates the color, and you can also have a zoom effect where it looks like you're being pulled into the image. Here I was pretty lucky with this image because the birds obviously were moving, and I also moved the camera. So here I've moved the camera together with the subject moving, and I think it's a nice effect here. I really like this image. Again, an example where I've zoomed in, you can see in the white dots to the left, I didn't do a good job in being consistent in how much I zoomed in, but still the effect is there. Here I also really like the way the colors are accentuated, and you look less perhaps at all the details, but more just at the colors as a surface more than all the individual leaves. Here again a zoom effect, maybe less dramatic than the other one, but still very noticeable. And here you can see I moved the camera in a circle, and you can see the white lines there in the middle. That's actually there should only be one of those, of course, that really shows you how I have moved the camera around. Sometimes you get lucky, as you can see here. I really like this image also, and this is an example of me just getting very lucky. I didn't see it coming, and it was only when I came home and opened this in Lightroom that I thought, wow, I really like this one. It's basically just some tree tops and some cloud, and I've just moved the camera a lot to get this effect. Here, if you hold the camera still, in the video previously I talked very much about moving the camera, but you can of course also hold the camera still and then in this case zoom in or let your subject move, and in that case you get this effect. You can also use the technique to illustrate movement. Here you can see that this is a dual exposure, it wasn't a triple exposure. Here again a bit more zoom. And then finally I want to mention that of course you can shoot things that are completely unrelated. So here a little flower and then a background, and then you can merge the two so it looks something like this. be mindful that the order of in which you shoot the images actually influences on the result, how they are stacked. And this is probably also the technique that has been used. You've probably seen these images of people being trapped in bottles and so on. So of course you can use this. That's another option. So I think in general, it's all up to you. Just be playful and see what you can make of it. So there you have it. That was multiple exposure with your Nikon camera. I often get questions to which lens it is I'm using when I'm out shooting. And today it was the 28-105. A good old, I believe it was a kit lens back in the day. But it certainly is an amazing lens. And I really like to shoot with it when I just need to have a light zoom. Really does produce great images. You can see my review in case you're interested in this lens. I'll post a link somewhere up there. Yep, that's it from me. As always, happy shooting. Take care. Bye bye.